so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females need you just to trick me, trick me, trick me, trick me. 'Cause baby girl, you are so easy, baby. The only reason that I can do tonight is 'cause I know you were invited. The only reason that this dress is skin tight is 'cause I thought that you would like it. I'm only gonna put this.
Hi, this is Jessica Javens Talk, a podcast about a life that you truly love. And today we have a special guest, and I'm very honored to have here Dr. Valerie McCray with us today. So thank you so much for coming. It's such an honor to meet you today. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. And I would love for our audience to be able to get to know you just a little bit before we start our deep dive in our conversation. So share a little bit about your journey, about where you started and where you are today, and a little bit so they can get to know you.
Okay, that is very interesting because I am a clinical psychologist, right? And I got into politics, and because I was just seeing a lot of things that needed to be fixed. I got tired of fixing people, try to fix people one crisis at a time. So I got into politics to sort of help deal with the crisis situations, to sort of help with policy. And I ran for United States Senate just recently. Kamala didn't win, I didn't win. So down the ticket, we didn't do that well in Indiana. We're in so-called a red state, but we're going to overcome that next time. So right now I'm post-election and sort of gearing up for the next stage. And, you know, the next election is not until 4 years from now. So it's a matter of using this time to sort of hone everything, hone my skills a little bit more before we go back out. And also, you know, get in touch with the audience, get in touch with the people out here. That's
wonderful. I was reading a little bit about that. And one thing that caught my attention is what your major was in, where you did a lot of the mental health, your clinical psychologist. And that for me is very important, because for a person who wants to be able to live a life that they truly love, they need to have a good mind state, and they need to know themselves, and they need to have the support system and the professional help that they need to get them there. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe an experience or a story about that part of your career, and then how you're bringing this to your new career?
You know, why don't I tell you about, that's a good question. I'm going to tell you about one of my first jobs, and sort of tell you this transition. I needed a job really bad, you know, right after I got to Indiana, my parents had died, you know, financial stuff happened. And I needed to get a job. And I had a personal trainer at the time. And I told her, I said, Dora, I can't afford you anymore. I need to go get a job. She says, aren't you a psychologist? I said, yes. And she says, I know somebody has a job for you. I called that job, got that job that day, and started the next day. Wow. That job was at the women's prison. And my clients at that point, my patients at that point were what you call long-termers. These are women that have had committed or been involved in very, very serious crimes. So the warden there, or the superintendent there at the time, allowed me to do what I wanted to do with these clients. And we did a lot of really interesting things, namely a tea party, which was really great. But getting to know these women and getting to watch and see where the problems first started. These were phenomenal women. Most of them were just absolutely phenomenal. And if something would have been just a little bit different in their experiences, they would not have been there. And these are women that would be warriors out here, that would be magnificent out here. But things happen. You know, a lot of it was due to sexual abuse, incest, a whole bunch of things that got them off course. And they skipped some stages because of that, because of the trauma. And that's where I met them, is at that stage. And just sort of seeing how we could have prevented some of this. We could, if they would have gotten the help they need early on. So that's what sort of guided me, sort of what are the issues behind the issues? What can we fix? How can we, intersect that, sort of block that or fix it or something so that people aren't going down this spiral until it's something crazy happen, you know.
Yes, that's amazing that you got people with perhaps very deep ingrained issues, psychological issues. And do you recall somebody, I don't know how long you were there in that capacity at that point, but do you recall maybe a successful story about somebody who was able to receive the help and the expertise that you had at that time and be able to heal from that?
That's an interesting question, because I guess people ask me what was my why for running. And one of my whys is the legal system and the judicial system and the prison system and how that works. And I was at an event, and I was speaking at an event, and a person came up to me and she says, "Oh my God, you're Dr. McCray. I've been campaigning for you." And I didn't realize it was the same Dr. McCray that, that was our psychologist at the prison. And she was actually in a group of women that were being honored, and they were going to be in a program for politicians coming up. So upcoming politicians. And she did 20 years. She did 20 years in prison, revamped her life. And she's actually helping other women that are getting out of prison, making that transition. So she's done phenomenally. And so that is a story. And she says, and she did say that she cried when I left the prison, because we did so much. And so running into your why is very, very interesting. I was like, I ran into my why. I was crying, she was crying, because it just, it meant so much. It came full circle to see someone actually out and doing well and actually giving back to the community.
That's amazing. I got goosebumps all over. This is about what it's amazing when you're able to help somebody to completely transform their lives. And look at that. Now she's doing that for others. This is absolutely amazing. Beautiful. And how do you envision now that you ran for senator and now you're planning on doing that again for the next 4 years, get prepared for that. How do you envision yourself using all of this beautiful knowledge that you have and experience into that new capacity?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because we're going to start a new podcast, and that podcast will combine the psychology part of me, the psychologist part of me, with the political side of me, and sort of combine those together. And we're going to call it Psycholitics.
I love that.
So the podcast will be called Psycholitics with Dr. Valerie McCray, or Dr. Val. We haven't figured out that part yet, but it's going to combine those two things. And so it will give people an insight as far as, what is politics all about? How are our minds shaped to vote the way that we vote? How does media influence that? How do we even get along with someone who voted differently from what we would have voted? And sort of how families can still survive, one being on one side super conservative and one being super liberal. How can you survive that and move forward? And how can we move forward as a nation with these two conflicting ideologies right now? So it's going to be an interesting podcast, I think.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait. That sounds amazing. Absolutely. Now, if I go back just a little bit before the time that you started to work in the capacity, to think about people who are actually going through maybe some of those traumas right now, I'm thinking about the young people. I'm thinking about the people who are maybe experiencing something right now. What can our audience right now do? Because I feel that there's a lot of people holding back because of many different reasons. Sometimes it's embarrassment. Sometimes it's not knowing what's going on. Sometimes it's the way that the school system is set up or everything is set up. So what would you say can be something that can help the adults that are around these children today, especially after pandemic, with them being closed for several years? I have 4 kids, by the way, so it's a challenge. And to come out of that, and how can you see and how can you get the appropriate help so they can grow up with a healthy mindset?
The children that grew up through the pandemic, that spent 2 years, usually very, very formative years inside, isolated. we're going to be learning about those effects of that had on them for years to come. But we do know there are some social integration issues. We do know there's some anxiety issues. We do know that there are just different issues with socializing and sort of being positive about going out into the world. So, looking forward, it's about rebuilding that self-esteem and actually taking them out and connecting them with the world again. Because you can become very used, the humans can adjust to a lot. And you can become very used to being inside. You can be very used to, not having people in your world. And that's unfortunate because you need to be able to do that. So moving forward, we just have to teach them again, be with them again and sort of take their hands and say, okay, let's go here, let's go there, let's have a party, let's do these things all over again. So that's one thing. Anxiety across the board is still high in the United States. People don't know what's going to happen next. I still practice, by the way, so I still maintain my private practice. So what I'm seeing is a lot of just uncertainty right now, just a lot of fear, depending on, what side of the aisle you were voting on and that sort of thing. But because we're getting two different messages in media, depending on what media section, what channel you're listening to, you're going to get two separate views of the world. So we're dealing with those algorithms, two separate algorithms that are taking people so far apart from each other. So people are concerned. What's happening next? What's going to happen next? Of course, we're getting the worst case scenario if you listen to some stations, and some people are getting the best case scenario that sometimes isn't necessarily true. And so we have to deal with people's anxiety right now, and it's very, very difficult. Right now, it's just a high anxiety time of their life. So we're dealing with that with my clients left and right. So.
Well, I would compliment all of your clients for taking the initiative to going to you for assistance and help, because that's the biggest step is for you to take that action, right, towards getting the help that you need and the support and the healing. But for all the other people who are not taking that step or not sure or are scared, or maybe they think they can't afford it, whatever the whys are or the because, what would you say to the audience that's listening right now who is actually feeling that way, the way that you describe right now, but is not working with somebody in that capacity?
What I would say is get out of your own thoughts, talk to somebody. The difference between a therapist and a friend is it's a big difference, because a therapist is not going to judge you. No matter what you talk about, they're not there to judge. If they're judging, then they're not the right therapist for you, but they're not there to judge. The thing about it, and what I demonstrate to people all the time, I'll say, you know what, look at your left hand and tell me about these lifelines that are in your hand, right? And, describe them. Okay, this is your lifeline and this, that, and the other. And so they're looking at their hand. And I said, now take your other hand and put it right up to your nose. And how well can you see those lines on your hand? You can't. And so that's what it's about. When things are too close, you can't see it. And so it's the therapist's job to sort of pull your hand back and say, this is what's going on, or give you the opportunity to look at things from a distance so that you can start to process that a little bit better. So even therapists go through things because their hands is right in front of their face. So they have problems with their families. They have problems with their relationships because everything's in front of their face. But if someone else has the vantage point of being able to say, can you look at this? Why don't you look at this? What if you look at it about this way? What are you absorbing here? What is behind this feeling that you have? What is the shame? What is this about? What is the blame, the shame? What's going on here that's keeping you stuck? And we can, people don't realize that until somebody pulls their hand back and say, okay, this is what's going on, right?
That's a beautiful analogy. I will never forget that. It's such an easy thing. I think probably even for a child to quite understand how help can be useful. Yes. That's beautiful. Something just came to my mind, and based on this environment that we're living right now, and things are going to, go up and down. That's the way it is. I recall being young and having a news channel on all the time. And we had cable, so it was on all the time. And my parents were just wanting to know what was going on. But a lot of what was going on, of what was in the news, was anxiety material, let's say it like that, right? So in your perspective, because now you have those two sides, what would you say is balance for a person to feed on what's coming out of the news? Because there is no end, right? Of channels, of sources, even news that is not true, it's distorted, or people's thought about that. There's no end to that. So what would you say it would be a healthy balance for somebody who's maybe too hooked into watching the news?
It's important. Watch the news a little bit, but it's important to go outside to get another perspective. Because when you're just watching that tube, when you're just watching the news, you're going to think that life is a lot worse than what it is, because there's so much fear and, how do I say it? They're playing things that are going to make you watch, that are going to make you feel certain ways. And usually that's fear, or it's usually fear-based, because that will keep you, or anger-based. Something that's going to make you angry or going to make you afraid. And that's what they run most of, because that gets people tied into it. You lose perspective. And, that's unfortunate, for example, for older people, because they might stay home more and they can't get out, and that's all they're watching. So they're more afraid. I'd say watch television, but get out and go to the mall, go out to the park, go out and see that life is still continuing, and life is okay right now. Life is still good. No matter what you're seeing on the news, if you go outside, you can put it in perspective. It's not as big as you think it is.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I also take that and towards the probably the people who you're surrounding yourself with,
Yes.
right? So what kind of energy and what kind of talk are you absorbing or allowing yourself to absorb into? Because if you allow, there's basically no end to. It's just like a 24-hour TV show, right? You can just keep going on into that negative conversation. So, but you have to actually notice that. Right? Because like you said, if you're not noticing it and you're just going with the flow or with the pressure, then you're just kind of sucked in.
Absolutely. You have to watch your surroundings, the people that you're around. Are they pulling you into more anxiety? Are they pulling you into negative conversation? Are they constantly pulling you into debates or something to anger you? You have to watch who your audience are, your friends are, to make sure that that's balanced. Not that they don't have legitimate concerns. We're not saying that, but balance it with someone who's positive, and try to stay more with the people that are positive so that you're not pulled more in. Now, remember that people that are slightly depressed or anxious are actually going to be drawn more to people and situations that are more depressing and more anxiety driven. So it's important to be able to pull them to the other way and try to stay positive. If they are pulling you into it, you might have to just let that go for a minute. Say, wait a minute, I need to be around something else, someone else. Go to the art museum, something to change your vibe, change your whole emotion about things, because people are contagious. Their emotions can be kind of contagious, and people need to realize that. Be careful, be cognizant of who you're hanging around and how much and what they're saying. I don't care what it is. Some people are just negative. And you have to, be aware of that.
Yes, absolutely. So for the people who are today watching the show and are listening to this for the first time, what would you want them to have as a takeaway for their life now moving forward in the environment that we're in right now? What is one thing that you would say is crucial, or that you would like them to take?
Know that they are enough. They are enough to handle whatever situations is coming their way. Everything's a learning experience. And at the end of this, no matter how bad it might seem, at the end of this, they will be a different person, and hopefully they will be a better person in the process. The things that are going on now gives each and every one of us the opportunity to figure out who we are and what our place is in this world. take that as a learning experience and see who you are and test it and try to be brave no matter what. Try to be brave. That's the main thing. And we all have the ability to be brave. And so that's the main thing. Just be brave. Just be brave and experience and learn from it and enjoy this life.
Yes. I love the word brave that you choose. I use it all the time too. If you just step out of the commonality and just step a little bit into the uncomfortable, there's so much there waiting for you. Thank you so much. Now, you mentioned that your podcast is coming soon, which I'm very excited. But if somebody wants to reach out and follow you right now, wants to learn a little bit about what you're offering, even your practice, how can they reach you?
The best, politically, you can reach me at drvaleriemccray.org, or you can reach me at, that's the best way to reach me, by the way, drvaleriemccray.org or valeriemccray.org, or they can call me anytime, and just they can call the station if they want to get connected to me like that. On a client level, I can be reached at drvaleriemccray@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Just email me, drvaleriemccray@gmail.com, and I will get back with you. I will, we'll make an appointment. We'll make sure you're seen and make sure that you get what you need moving forward.
That's wonderful. It's been a pleasure to have you here today and to get to know you a little bit more. Everything I heard about you was splendid before, and now I can actually have that vibrational feeling about everything that I heard. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. You also have a warm, you have a good aura, a good presence, and that's going to take you a long way, and it's going to take people who associate with you a long way as well. So I see why you're in the field that you're in. I'm sure you're transforming lives all over the place, and I'm proud to know you as well.
I appreciate that so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And if you're watching the show right now, make sure you click the like button, you follow me, and subscribe to the channel. And this episode is brought by Forever Living, the best aloe vera juice in the world that helped transform my wellness. And this is a production of I Am Beast Network. My name is Jessica Javens, and this is Jessica Javens Talk.
Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females made you just to trick me, trick me, trick me, trick me. 'Cause baby girl, you are so easily pretty. The only reason that I can do tonight is 'cause I know you were invited. The only reason that the stresses can die is 'cause I thought that you would like it. I'm only gone for the sake of our sides, because I want you to